Today, this is a part two of our last topic, which was thinking like a business owner instead of an employee. We're going to start off by talking about a quote that I heard this week, which was work on making things easier instead of finding more motivation. To me, this is pretty obvious because I just don't have motivation. I don't have more motivation to find. It doesn't exist. But yeah, if I'm going to get things done or do tasks, I have to find ways of cheating my own brain to get them done. I think there's also an argument for if it is not easy, if you cannot easily make it easy, is it really important? Because there are some things that you could beat yourself up about, I don't know, your sock drawer or whatever not being organized, that you can make it as easy as you want, and if you still fail, uh, it's not worth beating yourself up about.
Yeah. One thing I do want to mention is we're not necessarily saying don't ever do hard things, but what we are saying is when it comes to specific areas of life, actually there's a quote that I heard too, which goes along with this, which is another reason why I think it's going to be good to talk about this topic. Um, I've probably mentioned him before. His name is Dan Martell. His quote was, "Don't slay the dragon, remove the dragon." And it was more talking about environment. And the reason I like that is because there's a lot of things in my life that I try just willpower and get through and never ever succeed with straight up willpower. So what I have to do is I have to create an environment in which it is more likely for me to succeed than for me to fail. Because as humans, our willpower, I mean, maybe some people, ironically, I heard a story, no, it was 2 days ago where my mother-in-law's grandfather, I think it was, he was a smoker, and then one day he just stopped. He smoked before he went to bed the night before, woke up and never smoked another cigarette solely from willpower. That's like not normal at all. No, most people are not like that. And so what I really want to push is that your environment is really important. And so an example of that would probably be if you want to work out more, instead of instead of buying a gym membership, put some dumbbells in your living room or in your right outside your office or somewhere where you will trip over them so that it's more likely for you to notice that they are there. Uh, I'm not saying that you're always going to work out just because you're there. However, it's easier to pick up a set of dumbbells or get down and do some push-ups than it is to put on your clothes, get in the car, pay your $50 a month membership, and actually go to the gym. So it's stuff like that that I think is really important, and I found helps a lot in my own life when I'm trying to get things done.
And I think this is a good time to point out a previous conversation that we had about a lot of what I do as a bookkeeper at my 9 to 5 job or my 7 to 6 job or whatever it is psychological, not technical. There's a technical aspect to it, but as a business owner and especially an entrepreneur, you're intelligent enough to do the thing, but by the time you get home making all your money, you don't just feel like sitting down and putting receipts in. That's true of some people and not all people, obviously. But as a bookkeeper, most of what we do is you're paying us to get the thing done that you don't want to do. And it's easier for you to go out and make more money doing the thing that you're already doing than it is to force yourself to get home and do this thing that you hate doing. So it's just another version of doing more of the easy stuff. You made it easier rather than found more motivation to try and do it, or thought you would find more motivation to try and do it and then not do it and then kick yourself when you get to tax season and you have a box of receipts.
which is most business owners.
which is most business
Yeah. So
owners.
the
Yeah.
point would be make specifically with the receipts topic, make there's giving the receipts to the bookkeeper so easy that it's hard not to do it. So, I mean, I remember when I was doing some of that stuff, specifically one client and their employees, it would take months to get those receipts. So we had to start finding different ways to get the receipts, like taking pictures or just giving them to one person who then gives all the receipts. And it was better. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but it was definitely better than it was before. So
Mm-hmm.
it's about making it easier to succeed.
Yes. And part of that discussion goes back to our earlier podcast episode, which was where we talked about systems, putting systems in place that, but the point is with that is the system also has to be easy enough that the system doesn't break down.
Yeah.
Like I'm talking about in my own life, there are systems that I have at work that I have had trouble putting in my home life, but I haven't made those easy enough. Like your suggestion was the task list, put it on your fridge, someplace where you go all the time, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, seek to find the way that you can make things easier. And many times, practically in my personal life, that is paying for a service, working a little bit longer hours to pay for a service is the way I can make that easier, because it's easier for me to stay an extra 15 minutes at work to make a little extra money to pay for somebody else to do, I don't know, my grocery delivery, rather than traipse around for 45 minutes to find the freaking mayonnaise tube that they've moved 4 times.
Yeah. And
I'm also really bad at finding things in stores for some reason, so that might be a uniquely frustrating event for me.
no, I would agree, and I think a lot of people would agree. Specifically, I know where you live and where I used to work. There's a Walmart there that they have redesigned like 2 or 3 times. And so that does not help, especially when you learn where something is and then they put it somewhere completely different, which is really annoying. Um, I think that's actually a great example because not only does having someone deliver your groceries help you with time, so you don't have to go to the store, run around, like even pickup, you don't have to drive to the store. Instead, it goes to you. There's a little bit extra cost, but you also know exactly how much you're paying every single time because you're not going into the store and finding extra stuff, or your wife is not going into the store and finding any extra stuff that uh, I know with my wife, that is something that happens. Your wife is pretty good with money, so she probably doesn't spend a whole lot extra at the grocery store. But you have a specific amount that you see when you're checking out. And you're also not tempted by anything inside the aisles that is like sugary or bad for you. Instead, you can just buy the stuff you need online and you don't see any of the sugary stuff except for like the initial homepage, which makes it easier to buy nutritious foods rather than unhealthy foods that take up 95% of the physical store. So I do like those parts of that specific example as well. Do you have any other specific examples in your life where you've made your environment easier or made your system easier so you actually follow it?
For me, maybe long term it's hard to keep in place, but doing a little bit every day has been really helpful in keeping systems going. I have things constantly that I have trouble keeping going because I like variety. But when things work well, they tend to be um, showing up defines success, which I think we've talked about previously as well. Not getting a certain amount done defines success. Because even if you do the bare minimum, as long as you start early enough, as long as you show up, you can get there. So thinking about, I'm going to just do 1 rep of a workout when my goal is really 3 or 4, but
Yeah.
I've never, literally never had it unless I'm like super sick, where I've done one set of burpees and then been like,
Just quit.
yeah, that's all I needed. I'm just going to stop. But once I've done the one rep, it's like, well, I already warmed up. I already did one rep. Might as well do another one or two. Uh, so the hard part is starting the thing. And over the winter, well, over the fall, we've got a fireplace in this house. And my father-in-law delivered a bunch of wood. And I've just got a splitter, a device for splitting wood that's basically a post hole digger, and a axe or a hatchet. And I was just like, I get home from work and I gotta either split two pieces of wood or cut up two halves into firewood pieces. And I got through all of it. I got through this massive pile of wood just by every day. And I come home, I grab the axe, I put on my boots, I go do two of them. But the showing up is the hard part. If I was like, oh, I got to schedule a time to knock 4 hours of splitting wood, which at this point in my life, I don't even know if I could physically handle uh, by hand for 4 hours, then it just wouldn't have happened. But showing up and doing a little bit over the course of time has been very helpful. Reading my Bible is the same way. Show up, read one chapter. That's enough. When I'm already there, the chance of me reading something being like, oh, that's interesting, and then putting it on notes to look further into or look at right now is high. But just showing up and opening the thing and laying my eyes on it is the hard part.
Yeah, for sure. No, that makes sense. I think for me, uh, I can think of three specific examples. One is kind of two in one. It's journaling and meditation. I've never been like literally never have I been someone who journals my entire life until 3 months ago. And then I've journaled 90 to 95% of every single day since then. And the way I did it was, and I mentioned this in a previous episode, but I had a structure and then I made it easier by setting my journal out on the living room table where I saw it every single morning when I woke up. So I would set it out there so that as soon as I woke up and went into the living room, I was like, oh, there's my journal. Now I remember I need to go journal. Then I made meditation easier by, first of all, getting into the habit of journaling, then adding meditation into my structure of what I journal about, so that I think it's called habit stacking, where I already had the journaling habit. So then I stacked the meditation habit on top of that. And so then now I've been consistently doing both. And I feel really good about it because I made it easier to remember to journal in the first place. And then I made it easier to meditate by stacking it on another habit. Another one is, I mean, it's kind of niche, but, and I know most people don't like to weigh themselves every day, which is totally fine. But I have started to get in the habit of weighing myself every day so that I can really work on like, what's my average weight and how do I decrease that or decrease body fat. I have a scale that gives, I mean, it gives body fat. It's not always the most accurate because how can it be? But it's at least directionally correct. So if my weight is going down, and my muscle is going up, then my body fat is obviously going down. So I put the weight or the scale like right by the toilet so that I see it every single morning when I like go pee or whatever. I see the scale right there and then I just weigh myself. And I know that that helps because previously in previous years when I would be trying to like do a cut or something, if I weighed myself more, I did better because I had the number in my head, like, okay, here's how much I weigh now. I'm trying to decrease that and decrease the body fat a little bit. So that's really helped me. And that one's been super recent, like a week or less, because I'm trying to do some 2026 planning and stuff. But yeah, so the journaling, meditation, and the weighing myself. The last example I have is going on daily walks. I started doing this when I was doing some bookkeeping with you. Um, I started by going on like one walk a day because I was doing 75 hard. Um, and then slowly I've increased. And so I will consistently do one walk. Sometimes I'll do two or three because I just started the habit and made it easy by like walking is, you don't have to have anything. You literally need shoes and clothes. If it's
Hmm.
cold, maybe a coat, and then you just start walking. And so that has helped a lot, and I feel more energized. Feel like I have more movement throughout my day, just because I started easy with one walk a day, and now it's gone into more than that when I have time or if I don't go play basketball. So yeah, those are some
Can you
specific examples that I've done.
can you describe for our audience what 75 hard is?
But yeah, so 75 hard is a 75-day challenge where you have to do an outdoor 45-minute workout. And again, it's up to you. And so my outdoor workout was like, I would go for a walk because I did it last winter when it was freezing. There would be days where it felt like -10 and I would still have to do it. So I went for a walk because I knew that was the baseline. I could hit a walk. I could do more if it was warmer, but all I had to do was go for a walk. You have to do an indoor workout. You have to drink 1 gallon of water a day. You have to read 10 pages. Um, and you have to take a picture of yourself. So outdoor, indoor, uh, gallon, read 10 pages, take a picture of yourself. I think that's it. There might be one more, but it's a lot. There's a lot of things that you have to do every single day for 75 days. Oh, and you have to follow a diet, whether it's like all whole foods or keto or whatever, for the all 75 days. And I did it. It was hard, but I was able to do it. And it just started my habit of walking, which I really like. So, yeah.
Another thing about that, going back to the making things easy and not finding motivation, is 75 hard is a good example to me of it's easier in part not because of what it is, but because it has a definite finite goal and it's measurable. I know I got to do these things for a certain amount of time. That's roughly, it's not even 3 months, and that defines success. And so, like in reality, the success is, can you do some workout or diet or whatever for 60 years and maintain a healthy lifestyle? But you've taken that and compressed it into 75 days, which for the human brain is way easier to be like, I've got a short term goal, let's kill it. So that is a version of making things easier because every day is a major progress when there's only 75 days to it.
Yeah. I think one thing uh, that's really important is that people obsess over outputs while ignoring what actually is input into their processes. They, when I was talking with Chat a little bit about this whole thing for my own life, people are obsessing about how much money they end up with, how happy they are, whether they get the promotion or not, but they're not looking at what goes into that. And so they're not making sure that their finances are on track now. They're not making the system for budgeting easier. Uh, they're not figuring out little ways at their job that they can make progress so that they can get that promotion. So I think it's important. This whole talk about environment and making your environment easier is super important because that's the input. That's what goes into your systems in order to provide the output that you initially or that you want at the end. Um, so it's really important to think specifically about the different habits, the different systems that you want to put in place so that you can achieve the goals that you're wanting to achieve without just vaguely thinking, here's my goal. How am I going to get there? Like you got to be super specific and apply these different principles to make sure that you get to those goals.
Mm-hmm. And and sometimes cheating yourself, cheating, having a cheat code to trick yourself to get to where you want is also helpful. There's a book I have on my Amazon wish list that I would like to read at some point called Obliquity. And more or less, I'm sure I'm going to botch the synopsis, but it is getting the things that you want, or helping the customers that you want, or achieving life goals obliquely by defining some other measurement of success that's easier to achieve. And like you're saying, people are too obsessed with the goal instead of the progress toward the goal. 75 hard is the goal is to do the thing for 75 days. Instead of saying, over the 75 days, I need to lose this many pounds. So the goal is the process instead of the goal being the outcome. It just so happens that if you do 75 hard, the chances of you reaching some arbitrary goal are significantly. You're going to feel better. You're going to have more muscle mass. You're probably going to lose some weight. It's not guaranteed, but statistically very high that all or some of those things are going to happen.
Yeah, for sure. Is there anything else that you have on this topic?
On thinking of life like a business,
Yeah, I'd love to see if you have
we,
anything else.
we kind of got off on a weird health tangent, but it's important. Making
It's
things easier instead of finding motivation, because I don't have any of that.
for me,
Other thoughts?
one
Go ahead.
piece of this, which I'm not sure if we fully explained, is uh, I think this is important. Saying yes to one thing is always saying no to something else. Um, there's always opportunity cost. So if you're saying yes to scrolling, to watching YouTube videos, um, like this one, no, you're saying no to something else. And it doesn't always mean that what you're saying yes to is bad, but it is always saying no to something else. And so I try to think about, or I think it's important to think about what you're saying no to, especially when it comes to some of the things that might not be as productive, um, like scrolling on TikTok. If you're scrolling, then you're probably not learning new skills to get better at your job, or you're probably not spending time on your finances and budgeting to make sure that you're investing enough. Uh, so write down a list of things that you really should get done, and then you can take breaks, but make sure that you're good getting back to that list, or at least in your head, if you have a list of things you should do, knowing what's actually important versus what's just fun and something you just want to do is really important, I think.
Yes. And a thought on that was, my wife and I were talking end of last week or this week. We talk a lot. And we were mentioning that I've had a couple young men in my life who are currently single complain about the inability to find women that they consider to be sufficiently um I'm trying to put this nicely, marryable. There's all kinds of details I could go in within that, but what I was trying to communicate to them is that that is actually a significant blessing in the first world. If you live somewhere where a no means like you can't eat, uh, or if it causes something fatal to happen, then it's rough. But in the first world where you have options unlimited, especially for entertainment, like you're saying, scrolling on TikTok, YouTube Shorts, or whatever, there's a million things to take your time. Anytime there's a no or a like, oh, I don't have to deal with that. That's not something I have to deal with. It is a blessing in disguise, especially when it comes to relationships, careers, like these things that consume huge amounts of your time and will either destroy your life or make them glorious. Like you pick the wrong career and you're miserable at work. That makes everybody around you miserable. Or you pick the wrong spouse who's just totally nuts. That screws everything up. Good luck getting those 5 years back and $50,000 in divorce court or whatever. So sometimes in life when you get handed a no, it's actually a real blessing. That's true of people. Oh, well, I don't have to waste my time being interested in that lady because she's nuts, or because her interests are just in no way overlapping with mine. Or investments. I have no capability currently of understanding any biotech, so I'm going to skip it. But there's a million other options. So many things in life, you don't need to have 20 of them. You need to have like 3 really good ideas. With a spouse, I would argue you need like 1 really good idea. Maybe if that spouse dies, you need 2 really good ideas.
Let's hope that.
And unexpecteds happen. Another thing I was thinking about what you were saying was you can also do everything right. You can make a great decision and something goes wrong. And so thinking probabilistically, like on the process, my process was good to get there. You can still say this outcome sucked and it ended up being bad, but I made good decisions along the way and became better at the thing. Like you can work out every day and that's a success. You might still get cancer and die from it or get hit by a bus, but you still working out every day was the right decision.
I was going to use an example like you might get injured or something, but I guess that works.
Getting hit by a bus is getting injured.
Do that fatally.
Fatally. Uh-huh.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a balance between making the right decision and not being too hard on yourself. If the right decision doesn't always lead to the right outcome. Because there's also, for example, if you're working like a shift job, but you also have a family at home, choosing to spend some time with your family is probably the right decision over working 100 hours a week. But you might not be able to stretch your income, and so you might go into a little bit of debt. But also the relationships with your family was probably the right decision. And so it's a balance between making that right decision without being too hard on yourself, because debt is not usually a good thing, especially like consumer debt. So it didn't lead to the best outcome, but you chose to prioritize your relationships, which is really the only thing that truly matters, is the relationships that you have with people, because money and assets and stuff can come and go, but your family and your friends are people that really matter. So yeah, I do. I mean, you're always going to be working on trying to balance the two, and you're never going to be perfect. But again, that's the whole point, is not being too hard on yourself as long as you're trying to do your best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, while you were talking, I just heard 1,000 voices cry out that say like, but Caleb, I would sell my family so that I could have more money and assets.
I don't think that that's the right choice.
When you're working the grind, sometimes you're like, I don't need people in my life.
Then you grow old and you realize that
right. So sometimes you can't realize what you really value until you have what you thought you valued and it wasn't as good. This is the monkey's paw, right? You get what you want, but it turns out what you want sucks.
Yeah. So I know
also. Go ahead. No. Nope.
I was going to say, I know that I asked you if you had anything else, then I jumped in and said something else. Do you have any other topics around this?
Well, something you said also reminded me. Oh, right. Don't be too hard on yourself if the results of a decision turn out badly. one of the things that I had on here was your ideas need to die so that you don't, which I think that might be a Jordan Peterson quote or something. I don't remember where I heard it. And it probably wasn't that same articulation. But you're going to have ideas, and a bunch of them are going to be stupid. And it's good to have people in your lives to push back against them within some reason, because you can certainly overshare your ideas with the wrong people, and they are not good advisors. Or if you're a riskier person, I'm more of a risk taker. You're by definition more of a risk taker compared to people who never start a business. If we go and talk to people who are not risk takers at all, then we're just going to stress them out, and they're going to be like, well, what if you fail? It could be terrible. So those can be helpful at times, but not necessarily appropriate. If I'm going into business, I probably want to talk to somebody who owns a business or has run several businesses or has failed at 2 businesses and then succeeded at one of them, because there's some experience there, and they're probably they're more knowledgeable of what I want to learn than the people who have never done it. But the add-on to that is, if it turns out the results are bad, unless it's clear that you're going to be able to fix it, kill it. Whatever you were doing, destroy it, and then move on to something else. Which ties back to our previous conversation about my trading. I actually talked to one of my brother-in-laws yesterday about this, and pretty much articulated what we had talked about, which is I had a model. The model was broken, and my solution was, well, I got to stop because my model's broken, and I have no confidence that anything is going to work out the way that I thought it would. And it's frustrating and it sucks, but that's how life works sometimes. And I listened to part of an interview with Warren Buffett, and people always ask him, like, what's the best decision you made and what's the worst decision that you made? And I honestly can't remember what the best one is, but almost every time he will say the worst decision I made was buying Berkshire Hathaway or not getting rid of it. And if you don't know, Warren Buffett's company is Berkshire Hathaway. It's what he uses to buy all the companies and all the assets, et cetera, et cetera. But he purchased Berkshire Hathaway because he got into the investment and had a verbal agreement with the owner that the owner could buy him out at price X. Well, the owner did offer in writing to buy him out after the verbal agreement for $0.50 less per share. So the owner was just being a jerk. Warren Buffett basically hostile took over Berkshire Hathaway, which was a failing textile company, because his emotions were involved. He was ticked off. And so he pushed the guy out and he took Berkshire Hathaway, and for 20 years tried to get the textile part of the business to work, and spent money and resources towards it, and decided, oh, this sucks. And then doubled down by starting and buying other investments with Berkshire Hathaway. And in this interview I recently watched, he estimated that Berkshire Hathaway would be worth twice as much as it is now if he had not used Berkshire Hathaway to purchase all the assets. If he had just taken a different company with a different structure and left well enough alone and not gotten his emotion involved, or after he purchased Berkshire Hathaway, been like, this sucks, I'm getting out. So anyway, when you have bad ideas and you have no way of fixing them, kill it. Move on to something else.
Yeah, learn from it and move to something different.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree with that. I think the most important piece is learning from whatever happened to make that idea fail, so that on the next one you don't make the exact same decision.
Right. Yes. I think we probably all know people that it's like they keep going around the same mountain again and again in their lives. And you, as the third party observer, while they're talking, are like, why does this keep happening to you? This keeps happening to you. You've done this scenario with different people in different places at least like 3 times.
Yeah.
And you want to just like throttle and what are you doing? But
Yeah.
I'm just about getting all worked up over here.
You have anything else?
But yeah, I could keep talking, but I think we're at like a half an hour. So
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Give us a 5-star rating on Spotify and send us an email at jc.unscripted@gmail.com. That's the podcast.